everybody to the second Tuesday poetry reading featuring Cristina Sandoval and Manny Moreno. This is the first time that I'm using Google Meet to host a reading, so pardon me if there are any glitches or if I don't know how to do something. I'm sure I'm going to mess it up somehow. I mean, I'm positive, so if that happens, I apologize in advance. And just like if I accidentally end the whole meeting, just come back in to the join the meeting again, and we'll keep it going. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing now, and so then we can have a better idea of who all is in the room. So happy to see your faces. I'm hoping that y'all can mute yourselves. I am gonna occasionally look at the host commands and try to mute people if they're not muted. But that's a lot of multitasking, so and I'm not that swift right now at the end of a work day. But I'm really glad that you've joined us tonight. Hi, Tom Myers. I'm sorry that I denied entry to you earlier. That was one of the glitches that I was referring to. I'm glad you came back. Tonight, I'm so excited to feature Cristina Sandoval and Manny Moreno. Manny has been having some internet connectivity issues, and so he is not in the room yet, but I'm hoping that he will join us shortly. I'd like to start out by just reading a couple of announcements of upcoming events. First of all, this reading is sponsored by the Modesto-Stanislaus Poetry Center, and we are a member organization, and we depend on people joining our group and supporting us with our very reasonable annual membership dues. And with that money, we do a ton of really cool stuff in the community to promote poetry in Stanislaus County. We are responsible for putting collections of poetry into elementary schools throughout Stanislaus County. And that project has kind of slowed down a bit during COVID, but it's going to ramp back up again, I'm hoping. We also go, again, this was, these are pre-pandemic activities, and when the pandemic ends, we will most likely be restarting these events. We also go into retirement communities, and we do readings for the folks that live in those communities. We work with the Carnegie Center for the Arts in Turlock to do literary fun events when they have their family nights. We've also brought well-known poets to our area to read, and people who maybe wouldn't have come to the Stanislaus County area. One comes to mind, Juan Felipe Herrera. And so I'm hoping that you'll consider joining our group. Our website is mostpoetry.org, and there's a membership form there. So I wanted to tell you about a book discussion group coming up on November the 17th. That's Wednesday, November 17th at 6:30 p.m. There is a discussion being led by Jeanette Jameson of Lori Ann Bosalar's These Many Rooms. And that is going to be on Zoom, right, Jeanette? Yes, on Zoom. And one thing that you should know about this poetry book discussion group is that you do not have to read the book before participating. So if you just want to talk about the book or just be introduced to this poet's work, you are welcome to join the discussion. And all the information about joining is on mostpoetry.org in our calendar. And then later on this month, on the 21st of November, we are having our Poetry on Sunday series reading. And that is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, hosted by Gary Thomas. And our featured readers this month are Gerald Fleming, Michael Meyerhofer from Fresno, and Melchor Sagoon III. And so that is a really cool trio of poets. And I think that it will be really interesting to see how these three poets' work kind of bounces off each other. And there's always, you always have an open mic too, right, Gary? Yeah? Okay. I'm not sure if there's also an open mic on this one, but I'm reading. Yes, our usual open mic time will follow the featured readers, and all of the Zoom join information is at mostpoetry.org. And that is all that I have on our calendar for mostpoetry.org, but I know that there also December marks the start of our New Year's Poetry Challenge. So I just wanted to mention that. That is something that a lot of people subscribe to. And Gary Thomas has led it for the past couple of years. And Gary, I don't know if you want to say anything about it, or if you want to just tell people, just go to mostpoetry.org and check it out in a couple weeks.
Yes.
Okay.
Please do that.
All right.
I'll send out the first prompt on December 14th, and it'll go through January 13th. So
awesome. And then are you planning to publish a little book?
Yes. And then
okay.
Based on people's desires, they can send in a poem, and I put it together into a little poetry anthology, which we used to be able to have at the Bark and Dog readings, the second Tuesday readings, but I will still manage to get those out to the people who want to, I was going to say donate a poem, submit a poem, and it's a lot of fun. I hope a lot of people will decide to join in this year.
Thank you so much for talking about that. And if I'm missing anything here, any of you, most folks, if I'm missing any events and failed to mention them, please feel free to unmute yourself and talk about those events. Or any other poetry things coming up that I'm missing. Oh, okay, Jeanette just put something in chat about the Bosalar book discussion group. The book for that book club reading is available at the Modesto Library, and it's called These Many Rooms. And you don't have to check it out even. All you have to do is go to the checkout counter, which is in the front middle of the library now, and ask them for a copy of the book. And most likely they will have a copy there for you, and they will just hand it to you. All right, so we are going to proceed with our first poet, and that is Cristina Sandoval. So hang on a sec, I'm looking here, using my phone and my laptop at the same time. So Cristina Sandoval has been a friend of mine for a couple of years now, and I met Cristina, I guess about 3 years ago through the Queen Bean poetry night at the Queen Bean, through Melchor Sagun, actually. And I love her writing, and I'm so thrilled that she is now an MFA student at Fresno State University. And she just is the very definition of a poet. She's been writing since she can remember. She's a proud Chicana, and she is desperately in love with language. And she often mixes her two languages, Spanish and English, in an attempt to bridge the beauty and hurt in both. Her work often focuses on family, mental health, and finding meaning in the terrible. Yeah, we better, huh? Because there's a lot of terrible out there. She has 2 books on Amazon, Moonride and We Need Bad Bitches. Her work has been featured in Penumbra, Artifact Nouveau, Existir, and Dystopian Dance Party. Her thesis work is centered around the nature of family, culture, and hair. I'm surprised that Prince isn't part of that, around the essence of Prince. She's from Modesto, California, but she now lives in Fresno. And this is important to know. If you were wondering, she does miss Mr. T's donuts. So everybody, please welcome Cristina Sandoval. Cristina,
hello, everyone.
You are on.
Okay. Can you hear me pretty well?
Yes,
okay,
we
good.
can.
Okay, the microphone's working. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, Lucy. Lucy's in the audience right there.
Yay, Lucy.
Before I begin, I want to do a land acknowledgement, which I've observed a lot of poets do, and I really admire when they do that. Because I am in Fresno, at Fresno State, we acknowledge the indigenous folks of the Yokuts and the Mono people. So I wanted to put that out there first. So first of all, thank you everyone for being here. And thank you, Stella, for everything. For like dealing with all these like technical issues too. So I'm gonna be reading from my book. I'm not sure if you can see that because of my background, but it's basically Stella announced it. It's called "We Need Bad Bitches." Excuse my French. Yeah, so I think I'll just go right into it. The first one is the title track. It's called "We Need Bad Bitches," and it starts out with a quote. This is from Cardi B, if you are aware of her. Yeah, she's kind of a controversial, but this is where the quote came from. So she said, "I think us bad bitches are a gift from God. The bad bitches, the mean ones, with thorn tongues and bad attitudes, these are the women who have dragged me out of bed. They're the guiding light, bald at the end of my arm. They're the middle finger to every voice that said I can't. Timid girls need bad bitches. We tend to live curled beneath our tongues. A bad bitch's mouth runs laps. I palm the top of my head with their bad bitch water. Let them baptize me, say their bad bitch sermons. And I pray with open jaws that I learn to slap the doubt out of my system. I run free, reign free, because of them. Rhythm greets my bones because of them. Every word I speak is mine because of them. Every sad girl needs a bad girl that'll spit on her reservations." Yeah, so that's that one. So the next one, this is kind of a little bit of play of English and Spanish together. Like Stella mentioned, I like to do that sometimes. So it's called Rosas, which translates to roses. I was raised with flowers in my name, rosas con o sin espinas, in a makeshift vase made from an old coffee can. El jardín está seco. The mouth of the vase opened too wide. Deja untarle agua a sus ramas. The bottom too flat. Se ladea. Drooping under the heat, the sticky hot box of Modesto in the summer, in a home with limited air conditioning in the 90s, un poquito más. I can still taste the roses, the marigolds on my tongue, el nido de hilo, las gardenias, the firm succulents in the giant pots held fast, catching the sleeve of my Beauty and the Beast sweatshirt. Estuve verde. I was verdant, a bud in the jagged mouth of a canned vase. And that's that one. It's so strange reading like online because there's like no audience feedback, but yeah, it's all good. Thank you guys for listening. The next one is called Ex-Tina. It was just a concept I had kind of, and I was explaining this to my brother who was actually in this call right now about kind of on the spirit of like Malcolm X, where it's like that displaced culture that you don't know if you want to acknowledge, so you replace it with an X. So yeah, so this is the poem. I love the C in my name, but lately I've been curving that open mouth belly into an X. X because the ghosts of a forgotten history have filed themselves into my tongue, sawing, switchblading, arrowhead to grindstone, being formed into something recovered. X because I've been punctured with bee venom and still refuse to forget the taste of honey. X because I never learn. X because this can be good or disastrous. X because I didn't choose a Christian name. X because I'm debating whether the name suits me. X because I'm debating whether I suit the name. X because I never signed the perforated line and I never claimed the crumpled Washingtons with the red water stains on the swarm of smallpox-laden blankets. X because I open my mouth and it crosses itself. X because those who bore me were robbed of more than gold, just as I was pushed out to sea in childhood without swim in my legs or a raft to dig nails into. X because in my oceanic loss, I learned to swallow pearls and keep them smooth with rough sand stored beneath my tongue. X because I'd rather go by a name that means here. Here I am. The treasure that was stolen has returned to shore. That's that one. So I used to work at Ross, which was not a fun experience. I love shopping there. I didn't like working there. So this poem is about the constant anxiety attacks that I would have while I was working at Ross. So the poem is actually called The Anatomy of an Anxiety Attack, the kind I invariably have during almost all my shifts at work. So this is it. It starts in the brain. I picture the pink folds caving in on themselves, pricking their long arms with electricity, thunder like doubts, like whispering bullies, shoving my shoulders, poking a finger through my chest, exposing my wrinkled aluminum heart. Once it's manifested in my brain, made it clear it has arrived, it spreads to my hands and eyes. My eyes go dumb, all glazed, donut, no party here. Windows to an empty room. My hands shake like they're trying to loosen coconuts from their trees, only I'm struggling to put clothes on a hanger because it keeps slipping and the zipper broke on this dress and I can't find the right sizing nub. And I've already dropped it 9 times. How am I supposed to do a job like this when my hands betray me? And the only thought repeating in my mind is, I wanted so badly to be an artist when I was a kid. Hey, whatever happened to that dream? Remember when I created out of excitement? When music wasn't a soundtrack to my misery? Remember that? My manager is saying something over the headset and I don't even hear my name because I've forgotten what it sounds like when it's not a badge over my left breast. I full stop everything I'm doing. My manager says go. I go. I trample the lingerie on the way to the dress racks and I sort them with a dull gaze because these colors mean nothing in empty hands. The canvas is here, but these dresses aren't paintbrushes and money doesn't grow on trees. That's that one. This next one is kind of relevant to like right now. I tend to get the winter blues, which is also known as seasonal depression. And that's what I wrote about here. And it's called Winter Blues. I love the heat pressed against the soles of my bare feet, night sweats and booty shorts and early sunny mornings. Bring me summer on your back, will you? Bring in the last jug of Kool-Aid before the flies get to it. Bring in the nights the heat kept me up, but found me satiated, belly swollen with warm rice and lukewarm coffee. Winter doesn't look the same, doesn't feel the same. I'm sat here with an artificial light, trying to wring out the warmth of a perfect June sunrise. Long days nourish me, deep through and through. Bring me something sumptuous on your back, will you? Something like sweltered evenings, laying on the grass, waiting for the moon to peek through the widening hole in the sky. Stars come through like light through the gaps in a knit sweater draped over my head. Only a slight breeze and the roaches singing. Street lamps hum overhead. Before you go, can you remind me, not once or twice, maybe 3 times, that it doesn't end now, that winter slinks away every year without fail, and summer slips in through the Venetian blinds, whether I'm waiting or not. Yeah, that's that one. Let's see. So another theme in the book, this particular book, and maybe Stella noticed as she was reading it too, is I kind of dedicated it to my cousin who passed away in 2016. And there's quite a few poems about it, and this is one of them, and it's just titled 1989 to 2016. I used to live flat. The sun blended into the sky. Each revolution was a muddy blur. I wanted nothing. I used to sink into a deceptive warmth. My head grazed the top of the sand, and I lulled myself to sleep. I didn't know we could lose someone like that. I didn't know how stupidly easy it is to lose someone like that. A rainy night and chance. My mind wanders each night, eyes wide open. How can a new and promising launch be cut so short of the stratosphere? I wish I could reverse the clip, cut out the part where she'd never laugh at a crappy meme again, never send me her joy in text messages, never kiss or hold or push again. I wonder if I can ever step outside in the rain without wondering why I had to watch my family cry into the opening of an empty well. Her name reverberates against the well's walls. A song we made when we were babies and played with water in our mouths. The song fades. All that's left is an echo. And just to acknowledge, her name was Eva Maria. Yeah. And yeah, we really loved her. This next one, so Lucy, yes, Lucy sent some love, yeah. It's called Alive. On the flip side of the coin, just kind of looking at the beauty of like life, right? So this one's called Alive. Folks live overjoyed under mountains of their own teeth and laughter before returning to their bodies, sometimes with searching looks beneath blankets of lashes, reading, observing, quietly studying or lost. Sometimes the sun hits their eyes like gold shellac, or they squint and a million tiny crow's feet come alive. This is when they're most beautiful, when nothing stands in the way of the moment and their mind. The most innate breath, the purest, the uninhibited, when their focus dashes from self to the moment and they are liberated enough to be. 7 billion people walk the earth, inhabiting bodies, breathing lungs, crooked teeth, nervous systems, thick glasses, shaking hands, belching, yawning, and sleepy greetings, acid reflux and dreams. 7 billion living, and they have no idea how beautiful they are just for being alive. Yeah, that's that one. So I'm not sure how much time do I have, Stella?
So you've got time for like about 4 or 5 more minutes. So
4 minutes? Okay.
if you want, yeah, whatever. You don't have to go that long, but if you have some stuff to read, go for it.
Okay, yeah. So
Be great.
let's see. I'm gonna do one more from the book, and hopefully I can share this screen and show you one of the visual poems that I've been working on, something new. So this one, and again, my family will know what this is about. It's called Gonzalez Brows because Gonzalez is my grandmother's maiden name. And it's a distinctive trait that a lot of us have inherited, is the Gonzalez brows. Eyebrows, basically. So this is the poem. Saddled just above my brown eyes are my grandmother's eyebrows, hair as thick as her bloodline. In my early youth, I attempted to thin them out with shears. Schoolmates would harp on their potential if only they were tamed. I have hacked at my grandmother's legacy for decades, tried to thin it out, tried to not offend others with its brashness. They say eyebrows frame your face, and they sit just above the windows to my truest self. Then why lay waste to my truest self? Why should I find unnatural arches to appease the stranger at the supermarket? They are there as a unique frame for my unique face. If you take offense at the amount of hair my face is capable of sprouting, then try and match the history of hairy Europeans in Aztec territory and tell my grandmother's lineage to find a way to tweeze out their history. So that's that one. So let's see. I'm gonna try to share my screen real quick. If I can remember how to do this. A window, and then cancel that one. One moment. So this is a visual poem I've been working on. Hopefully it will be included. Where did you guys go? there you are. Okay, sorry. Hopefully it will be included in my thesis. And it's basically a response to religion and just growing up a Catholic. So, there it is. Okay, so how I created this, I went to a website that sells rosaries. And it just seemed kind of absurd to me that, you know, they sell something like this, like, so in such a capitalist world, right? So this is what I took this image from, where it says coral glass beads rosary with miraculous center, new. Can you guys see that, or should I zoom in, Stella? That's good.
I can see the top half of it, and it's legible. We can read it, so
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'll scroll down as I read. Yeah, so it's again a mixture of Spanish and English. So, tanta cadena y yo sin astucia, ¿acaso no soy esclava de los corales? Gripped in my child hands, pleading with Jesucristo to save me from the monster's hostage into roots I call scalp. Prayer goes in y pa' fuera sale el llanto. I'm begging at this point, release me from these decades. If the beads are gilded, at least I will know what it is to feel like God. Ahora, tan grande, según en la flor de mi vida. Over dramatic, red lipstick, jade ball in my mouth. Like a good Catholic, I let the wine and the music bend my spine in despair. Como exorcismo del collar, y pa' fuera salgo del demonio. $3.95. Buy it now. Condition new. $3.95 shipping. Location Miami, Florida, USA. And I think that's my time.
Cristina, that was really cool. Thanks for sharing your screen and showing us the shape of the poem.
Yeah.
It was really innovative and fun to look at, and like the words were super duper heavy and they had possessed such gravity. So folks, if you want to, I was just gonna say, like, you can unmute yourself at this point if you want to, and like say, great job, Cristina, you're the best. Was so great to hear your work. Woo! See, now you get the audience energy, right?
Well done.
Yay.
Thank you.
Great work.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christy.
Thanks, Scotto.
I'm so glad that you had people coming here to hear you too. That's really great. Thank you so much. Well, good luck with I hope that grad school continues to be like a great place and like very wonderful for your writing. Of course it is, right?
Yeah, I've learned a lot, so I think I've changed the way I write too.
I can tell. Yeah, I can tell. I can see I noticed some shifts, and I think it's just wonderful. So thank you so much. So, yeah. All right, folks. So, it looks like Manny Moreno has been able to join the meeting. And so, yeah, hey, Manny, what's up? So I'm going to introduce you. I'm going to read your introduction. I'm just sort of now desperately looking for it on my screen. Because, I don't memorize these things. I need my notes. All right. So, I've known Manny for, I don't know how many years now, but, like at least 3 or 4, right? And we might have met through Lillian Valley. But Manny is the author of 4 books, the most recent of which is a collection of poems, Longview Road. Manny's previous works include Scared, Coming Full Circle, a memoir, his first poetry collection, The Bridge is Gone, and The Elder, a tribute about the importance of elders in the community and about 2 Native American elders in particular. His poems are about growing up in Livingston, where his family's roots were established in the early 1900s, and also about a wide array of topics. Manny is a member of the Black Wolf Honor Society Gourd Clan, a member of Native American Church, and sundances regularly in South Dakota. Manny is of Yaqui Tarascan descent and is an enrolled member of the state-recognized Texas Band of Yaqui Indians. Manny has been featured in interviews on Native Voice TV, Channel 10, Sacramento and Company, KKUP Radio, Indian Time, and Two Roads Productions. He's been a speaker at MJC and various events. He was nominated for a Pushcart Prize in 2011. Everyone, please welcome Manny Moreno, yay, otherwise known as in this Google meeting, he is named as Loco. So, welcome. So we were having a little bit of problems with Manny's connection earlier. Manny, you need to unmute yourself. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Hey, welcome.
That's one of the original languages of this continent. And I want to echo what Cristina said to acknowledge the people of this land where we live on, the Yokut. This is their homeland. And so I always want to acknowledge that and thank the spirits for allowing us to be here together. With my book, Longview Road, the first poem I want to read to you is called Who Will Tell Our Stories? Because when I grew up in school, none of the stories in the history books, in any of the teachings were geared to show us in any decent light. And as an indigenous person, it's hard for others that aren't to understand the burden that we have to carry with us after all that's happened to our people, all that's happened to our grandparents and our ancestors. I'm not here for me, I'm for them and for the next generation, because there is no religious way to justify what's happened through the colonization process. I've had to relearn my language. All my documentation and stuff goes back to the late 1700s, both sides of my grandparents came, my great-grandparents also came to Modesto, 1918, got married Stockton, 1919. We've been here 102 years. And they have contributed their children, which have contributed children, and we've all contributed to the society. But we're invisible as Native people all across this continent, struggling for the water. They're not protesters, they're protectors. They're protectors of the land, protectors of the water. But they dehumanize always. That's the new thing. Anyway, I want to read this poem here. Who will tell our stories? Silver sage smolders in a red abalone shell, and the smoke, sacred native smell, like an arrow, flies into the sun, an offering from my heart to Creator. Outdoors wrapped in a fragrant spring wind, my Moreno eyes find amusing. A hummingbird zooming above and over poppies, roses, and almonds blooming. I should be writing stories stirring in my mind, begging to come to their conclusions. But this enchanting creature holds my eyes, hostage freely on its ghostly wings. Who will know I was here and this was the place? Bushels on the ground have neither tongue nor eyes. That was a book for me when I started writing as a kid. It was the librarian, Mrs. Hammond from Livingston, that got me interested in books as a young kid. But I go to that library, we didn't have all this, you know. I'm 66 old, so you figure talking back in the early 60s, late 60s. And she got me hooked on books because we lived out in the country in a house, the outhouse a few yards away, nothing around us, fields. And my thing was to get books in my mom would take me uptown and we'd get these books, and I'd field with my dogs out. And I'd lay there on hot days, read my books. That's all we had, no TV, nothing, you know. But one of the things too that I remember growing up in these towns was the charm that these little towns used to have in the valley. Livingston, Justine, all these little towns, they've changed so much. We have so many different people here now. And so one of the poems I'm going to read to you, you might relate to, is called Liberty and Justice for All. Cruising on a lazy August afternoon, grooving on Motown sounds, downtown Modesto, where a homeless man pulls a pit stop, deposits piss on the sidewalk at Bank of America. No shame to his game, but who am I to judge? He could go a fat rat's ass like his free living peers, seeking the ways, scavenging through garbage, cans for goodies before maggots do. Tattered spirits, draped in rags, engaged on sidewalk shared, with solemn stiffs in business suits and shiny shoes. That's Modesto, how I see it when I've come to town. They're all over the place now. People are homeless all over. And I lived in Stockton, and I lived on the streets. Believe that's in my book. It's a horrible way to live. And I wrote in my last poem in this book. I'll read it to you. I had to get out of there when I was younger. I knew I was going to die there. I mean, it was pretty bad. But this is the thing I call the choice we make in life. And I never blame nobody for where I ended up, because there were the choices I made, bad choices in life. And so we learn from them. And I've told people, elders aren't smarter than you guys. It's just that we've done stupider shit in life, you know? So we learn from them, hopefully. Here's the choice. There was nowhere to call home. And no way was I imposing on others. So I headed out in Stockton under El Dorado Street Bridge, sleeping up against Cyclone fence, one eye always open, always listening, one hand on a blade. In the mornings, 3 urchins push grocery carts into heart of Stockton to St. Mary's for a meal, panhandling for a bottle, staggering through each day, wasted lives on wasted time, or lucky lives, free as the wind, whatever one's perspective. Not a thing, not there for me. I had to find a way out or rot and die. And that's a thing in our world where I grew up. There was a lot of alcoholism, a lot of drug, alcohol. When you don't realize it's where you escape from your conditions in your environment. Stockton is like that. Lived 20-something years, and I worked 10 years San Joaquin County probation on the gang unit, and that was in the few years that I worked there. Over 30 young people got killed gang warfare. It was really sad, and there was nothing there for us. Even as at my age, when I was young, I tell people, where did we see us in sports? Where did we see us in anything with a piece of? I mean, growing up, we watched Westerns, the old ones. And I always watched the Lone Ranger. I like Ranger, you know. But everybody would always call him Tonto. They wouldn't call him by his name. Engine, skin. That's how they call Tonto. And I was thinking, God damn, they can't even call him by his name. He's probably smarter than all the whole bunch. You know, that's why I wrote it in there. And it's called Tonto. In grade school, little brown boys and girls deliberately, systematically are colonized to believe our indigenous ancestors were savages, intelligent babies, needing salvation in the symbol of the cross of their own God they crucified, to be civilized, to stay alive, to fit in with their barbaric jive. But at home, Grandpa says, con corazón, with heart, Tú eres indio, yaqui Tarascan, never forget, never be ashamed. When I watch the Indians, white people dressed like Indians on TV and at the movies, they almost always lost everything, no matter how good they were at anything. Never equal to the fork to pale. On Friday and Saturday night, big silver screen in Court Theater, the Indians always get shot off their ponies, like three from a single bullet by blue coat, brave, left there where they to die in the sun on some godforsaken desert. No one comes back to bury. No eulogies for them. No gathering around the grave. I listened to Grandpa and understood him well, but I never saw Indians in any movie. I jumped that bar to portray them fully human, except for Tonto, who wasn't really dumb. Yeah, that's one of the poems there. All these poems, I don't get into the abstract. I just put down the way it was, And a lot of my friends, I think out of 40 of us, there's only like 3 of us left alive from the 70s. They're all dead. Tragic death. I mean, so I didn't want to forget them or my community and the people in it, the people that worked hard to put the food on the plates of people in this country. You see, because I'm not a descendant of a settler. I'm not a descendant of immigrants, and I'm not an illegal alien. I'm an original person, ancestrally connected to this continent. So the earth to us is here. We say the earth means that much because our ancestors are buried here. The blood of our ancestors is buried here. The blood of the ancestors of all this area are buried here, died of diseases or whatever. And so we have to tell our own stories. In the past, when I grew up, I would read books where others would talk about us. And then when I would get into a discussion with somebody, especially college people, they would come at me and they say, well, wait a minute here. You're telling me how our ancestors were and what they did, and yet we got our stories passed on for generations, and somehow you just came out of college and figured us out. You know us all. No, you don't know us. That's just it. You haven't. What you've looked for is the mysticism or that kind of thing about the Indian. It's always when you meet an Indian, what's your spirituality? What do you guys believe in? Well, right now I've got a job. I got to ditch over here. I'll talk to you later. Yeah, I mean, we're human beings, progressive. We're progressive people. And we're the ones that are going to save this land. Our people are. And the rest of the world's going to learn. They're going to learn that after all this happened to us, we kept our dignity. I've been sober 25 years, not a drop off. And from my book for our young people to get some encouragement to maybe want to write their own stories. I don't make a lot of money to buy a hamburger now and on the road. I have no money in it, but the stories are still here. My dad was a special for from my uncle. I used to stay on. They used to have these. I don't know if you remember any of you old railroad station houses. They were on near Webb's on 7th Street, and I was some uncle there. And even he would play guitar out and steps after his work. And there would be a lot of what we call hobos back then. Hobos like all around the area.
Hey, Manny, I don't know if you appear to be frozen to us. I don't know if it's just me or if it's everybody. If Manny's frozen for you, will you give me a thumbs up? Okay, so he's frozen. So the internet has been kind of spotty, and it's been going in and out. So Manny, so right now we're not hearing anything that you're saying. I don't know if you can hear us, but I There we go. I thought that might happen, like he just lost his connection. So, darn it, that's really disappointing. I'm gonna wait a couple of minutes for Manny to come back because what I could hear from his commentary and his poetry, it's pretty fascinating, and I'm still eager to hear the rest of his reading. So let me just pause the recording here.
Grew up, all the store owners knew all the kids in town, you know, but everybody would say hi in passing. But nowadays, I mean, it's a lot different. So here's a little poem called Hi. From the center of our universe, in the corazon of Livingston, I cruised through for old time's sake. But it's not like it was back in the days of Leave It to Beaver, Captain Kangaroo, and Mr. Magoo. When Ethel at the Mohawk was 2 bits a gallon, a Superman comic at Carlos Market, a dime. When a cartoon, 2 flits popcorn, and a knee-high pop ran less than $1 at Court Theater. Livingston is not what it was when Primos and I boys ran home past mom and pop storefront windows that aged with us, like La Azteca Bakery and the Jant's 5 and Dime, when being drunk in public was the worst crime, when there wasn't any ATM in any store, when everyone and their mama never had cell phones nailed to their eyes. At least back then, people still said, hi. Just the way times have changed, I guess, like I said, the charm in a lot of these little towns is gone. And, I wanted to try to write down some of the memories. So when I'm gone, at least, they'll have them around to remember some of the stuff that I wrote. This is one that's called Chato. But like I said, a lot of the guys I grew up with died of heroin, violent acts, just different bad ways, And there were guys I grew up with as kids. It's funny because I always thought, not one of us made it as a lawyer or a doctor or nothing else. They ended up bad ways. This one's called Chato. Chato's bro calls county hospital. Sorry, we tried, but he couldn't be revived. They found Chato unresponsive, nobody around in Pilgrim Park, where Tecatos bleed all hope out of them, ever living among the living. Each slam closer to the happy hunting ground, each day hanging out like the trees, all day on park benches, nodding, scratching, puking, expiring. Ain't no big thing. I saw Chato weeks ago, looking like a Skeletor, strutting in shorts, like he wasn't tripping. How pitiful he was looking. A huge infected, sore, oozing, stinky pus on his bony leg. His withered face, a pale reminder, a shell of who he once was, fixing Chiva on the floor. I met Chato years ago, teenagers, and his whole sorry life was just a fix, except years clean in some pen. Yeah, I still remember when he died. It was a trip for me. Here's one more I'll give you, and then I'll probably just cut it off because I don't want to bore you guys, but I got one here called Skin Color Matters. And it's about the people in the fields working, out here in these jobs. When you go out anywhere in the valley in these towns, you'll see them in the fields. You'll see them working in the streets. I mean, they're just working hard labor jobs. And I used to do that kind of work. I worked in the fields. I worked in some of the dirtiest jobs you can imagine, even sewer jobs. And it's backbreaking work. And those are the people that are what they called essential workers. I look at them. They're essential workers to this country. On my way to work, it's called Skin Color Matters. On my way to work, passing by the fields, I see humans labor like robots on sweet potato harvesters and hoeing weeds, and in orchards running up ladders, balancing like acrobats, picking peaches, arms like propellers. 8 hours later, my ass is tired, throwing trash, heading home in triple-digit heat waves, emotions bent in exhaustion. The humans I pass by in the morning, working, everybody, Brown. So all those poems with you, and I want to thank you all for having the patience to sit there with me. Yeah, I get a little emotional when I read my works because for me, writing has been a healing process. Like I said, I quit drinking 25 years ago. I was so bad that I was bleeding from everywhere. I had scars all over me, my guts in my hand, just from bad things. And I think it was the I was trying to self-destruct without knowing it or admitting it. And it wasn't until I realized where I come from, my ancestors, the language, the history, all these things that came to me, being enrolled now and having my family here all these years, I want to leave something for them because I wouldn't be here without them. My grandfathers and my grandma, they were good people, very good people. And they were humble, hardworking, humble people. Like a lot of people in the valley that grew up here for generations, their backs went into the land, working on this land. We wouldn't be here without farmers or agriculture and the workers. I mean, we wouldn't be here like this.
That's right.
So, we give them thanks always to the hard workers, all people.
Well,
we're all in our way of believing. I say this to people. I had so much hate at one time for other people, and when I realized in time over the years, going to different ceremonies, met different people, different backgrounds, different ethnic groups, and it opened my eyes to see there are no races. It's one human race with different cultures and different ethnicities, which are all beautiful. Because I share my culture doesn't mean I'm putting yours down or saying mine is better than yours. I'm just trying to share with you. When we share our stories, we're not trying to attack nobody, but we have to tell the truth. We see what's going on now. They're trying to deny our truth. They're trying to suppress our history in the schools. You can't have a honest country stand long when you do. Too much bad is happening. And natives, as a people, we've been denied even our religion to practice it until 1978 when they passed the American Religious Freedom Act. We couldn't even pray because we'd be put in prisons. They were killed. They talk about mass killings. Wounded knee. Look at what happened with the Dakota 38 when they hung them for stealing a cat because they were starving. Lincoln sent them to the gallows. Mankato, he sent them to the gallows. All that history has been denied, teaching to the other kids to spare them what their ancestors did to my ancestors.
Yes, that is so, yes. That is exactly what that is. Yep.
You can't come together without forgiveness. You can't come together and expect the blood of this. Everywhere on this land, on this continent, we're on top of burial grounds. The cities are on top of burial grounds. Santa Nala is on top of a burial ground. There is the blood of all our ancestors and relatives in this soil. America, we've been here since, unless you've been here before 1492, you are immigrants or descendants of immigrants. So they're finding out that even in California, they go back 130 years here. We go to the south, the pyramids and all that. The archaeologists did everything according to European standards. Would never accept.
Hey, Manny, I'm having trouble hearing you. I don't know if this is something that is, again, like an internet issue, or can everybody else? Yeah, you're cutting out, and so I'm not able to hear. No, well, go ahead and talk, and we'll see.
Can you hear now?
No, you're not. You're cutting out too much. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna stop the recording.